My name is Chris Smith. I'm a working housewife, married for 3 years. My husband, Harry, is what you'd call a white-collar worker, and he was totally supportive of me continuing to work after we got married. However, the image I had of marriage was vastly different from his. "Let's keep doing our own thing, even though we're married." They were his first words about it. As a newlywed, I didn't understand what that meant and just smiled and said yes, not imagining the consequences that would follow. As a newlywed, I didn't understand what that meant and just smiled and said yes, not imagining the consequences that would follow. And then there's today. Even on his day off, he left early in the morning. As he always does. It makes me wonder what the point of getting married was. But, since I married him, I guess I just have to accept it. That's what I tell myself as I go out to meet friends and have a good time, just like I did when I was single. It was on my way home. I was waiting at the crosswalk. The light changed and a car stopped. For some reason, I was drawn to look inside, and I saw a young woman feeding something to the man in the driver's seat. It looked like she was feeding him. As I watched, the man kissed her. I was shocked to see that. The man was my husband. I instinctively took out my phone, took a picture, and hurried across the crosswalk. My heart was pounding, hoping it was just someone who looked like him. The disbelief and anger at this freedom he spoke of. When I opened the photo to confirm, it was indeed my husband. What the hell is this? What kind of freedom is this? Is this the freedom he was talking about? I felt a tightness in my chest and tears started to flow. People glanced at me as I walked by, crying, but I didn't feel embarrassed. Before I knew it, I was in front of my parents' house. As soon as I walked into the house and saw my mother, I broke down and cried on her shoulder. "What's wrong?" "Harry! Harry!" I couldn't form any more words and just showed her my phone. Then, to my surprise, my mother's reaction was unexpected. "That's good, isn't it?" I was dumbfounded. Why? How could this be happening? We don't have any kids. My freedom-loving husband suggested we keep our finances separate since we both work. I never saw how recklessly he spent his money. He would occasionally bring home sweets from the convenience store, and I assumed he must be saving money. His hobby was just playing slots. So, I naively believed his joyous departures on weekends were for his slot sessions. He always complained about being busy at work, sharing his struggles, but I couldn't understand his hardships from a different workplace, and I tried to empathize with his challenges. Was all this a trap set by my husband? I'm indispensable at work. Because of that, even though it's Sunday, I gotta work today. He said this with a sigh. Was that an excuse to meet another woman? I got invited to golf by a client. It's tough, I don't even play golf. I need to start going to the golf course to practice. Next month, I have a long-distance golf game with that client. It's gonna be an overnight trip, that's okay, right? Was that his way of laying the groundwork for a trip with another woman? Without suspicion, I was deceived by the same old him. I guess I'm pretty popular with the ladies. To become a leader at this age is unheard of. It's a big promotion. But it means more work for me. I can't handle it. He hinted at more overtime, and I just responded sympathetically. I believed and trusted that work was really tough for him. Why don't you go out too? You can do whatever you like. But you're so busy. That doesn't matter. You have your job, and I have mine. It's too much trouble to adjust to each other. Just do what you want. But, feeling guilty for my busy husband, I kept cleaning the house and cooking meals, even though he might not come home. But it's not about that, Chris. You're working too, you know. There's no need for you to go out of your way for me. I don't want to tie you down. Likewise, I just want to be free. If we both can do our own thing, isn't that okay? That would be unfair to you. Let's drop that kind of talk. We have separate finances, so there's nothing to feel bad about. It's not like I'm supporting you. I'm not your provider. Think of it like roommates. Yeah, just think of us as roommates. Roommates? Yeah, just because we're married doesn't mean we have to share all our time, right? We're going to be together for decades. There's no need to waste time for each other's sake. I often found myself unable to follow my husband's incomprehensible way of thinking. Is that what you call freedom? Yes, exactly. Then, what's the point of getting married? I wanted to throw those words at him but felt like it would break us, so I couldn't. What exactly was his idea of freedom? Despite all the doubts, the fact that I loved him was true. But realizing that everything was built on lies, that making me believe those lies while having a good time with another woman was his idea of freedom. Gradually, his returns home became later, and I couldn't help but wonder if he was really working overtime every day. I almost voiced my suspicions not just once or twice. During such moments, as if he knew I was doubting him, he would hug me and repeat "I love you." And I was deceived by those words again. Was he laughing at me? Were all those moments lies? Was Harry's kindness all a lie? My mother, not understanding my feelings, was happy. Happy about what? It's not good at all, I blurted out in a confrontational tone. I didn't intend to scold my mother or unleash my anger on her. But once the words were out, I couldn't take them back. Yet, I couldn't stop myself from throwing more words at her. Why can't you understand, Mom? Why would you say something so awful? I'm suffering here. What? I was crying and yelling. My mother, looking confused, furrowed her brow and rubbed my back. I'm sorry. Of course, you wouldn't be happy about your husband cheating. What a terrible mother I am. It wasn't my mother's fault. I knew that. Under normal circumstances, I could have taken it as a joke and laughed it off. My mother must have been trying to lighten my mood with that joke. Yet, I lashed out at her, trampling on her feelings. And that hurt me even more. The thought of causing my beloved mother pain made everything unbearable. That night, I got a call from my husband. Hey, I'm home. Where's Chris? I'm sorry, I'm at my parents' house. Oh, I see. It's just that you've never been out this late. I was surprised, but if you're at your parents', then it's fine. My husband's usual light tone. As if being at my parents' house meant there was nothing to worry about. But did he really worry? I'll be staying here for a while. If he was truly worried, he would ask why. What happened? But his response was, "Oh, really? How long will you be staying there?" I don't know. Well, stay as long as you like, a week or two, whatever. I won't be troubled, and it's better if you do what you want. That was his reply. So, it means he's okay without me? My husband, seemingly happy to let me do as I please, hung up in a cheerful tone. Only the busy tone from the phone remained, echoing as if my relationship with my husband had been severed. So, while I'm away, you're going to be cozy with another woman. The thought made me furious. My sadness faded, turning into anger. If he's like this, it doesn't make a difference whether he's around or not. Then, I'll divorce him. But, even if we split, just divorcing him won't make Harry feel any pain. Right, I won't be satisfied unless I drag him through hell. For that, I need evidence. I remembered something I saw online before. If your spouse is cheating and you're thinking of divorce, evidence is crucial. I immediately told my mother about it. I need evidence to definitively prove his infidelity. So, I'm going back home to gather it. But my mother frowned. I doubt you'll find any evidence back at the house. He's probably careful about that sort of thing. But I have to catch his cheating. Leave it to me. I'll get you solid evidence. My mother said this with a wink. 3 weeks later, my husband showed up at my parents' house. Maybe he came to take me back. I've heard stories about husbands bowing their heads and fetching their wives from their parents' homes. So, he probably thought leaving me alone for 3 weeks was too long. But that was just my hope. Chris, I have a favor to ask. You want me to come home, isn't that it? Not really? If you want to come back, you'll come back, right? It's up to you, Chris. I don't intend to take away your freedom. More like he can't. It's not about that, I need to borrow some money. Money? Why? Because I don't have any. But you're working, you shouldn't need to borrow from anyone. I just need it. Why? What came to mind was another woman. Is he needing money to buy a gift for her? If that's the case, is he planning to buy something outrageously expensive? I'd rather you not ask the reason. What? There's no way I can lend it without knowing the reason. Maybe, but I'm not gonna use it for anything strange. Oh. How much do you need? $10,000.
$10,000? Why so much?
You've got savings, right? Of course. I've been putting a certain amount into savings every month. All for the future, and possibly for when we have kids. Not for my husband's whimsical pleasures. I have it, but I'm not planning to lend it to you. Why not? If you have it, you could lend it to me. We're married, after all.
Even if we're married, money makes us strangers.
What's that supposed to mean? It means we become strangers when it comes to borrowing and lending money. Plus, I don't even know what you need it for. How can I lend it without knowing the purpose? You've changed, you know. It's only been 3 weeks, why have you changed so much? Maybe I have changed. You taught me what freedom really means. What freedom means? Yes, you showed me what your kind of freedom is, so I was able to change. Huh. Don't really get it, but whatever. Just lend me the money, will you?
I don't like not knowing what it's for. You are supposed to be saving every month too, right? I can't understand why you're asking to borrow it, so no.
I haven't been saving. What? Why haven't you been saving? You mean you've been spending your entire paycheck? Yeah, that's right. Why would you do something so reckless? Think about it. I get a paycheck every month, right? On the other hand, who knows when we're gonna die? What do you mean? I mean, I could get hit by a car tomorrow, or catch some terrible disease, right? That's why saving is pointless. Use what you have, then there's nothing to regret, right? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. I see. So, what do you need the money for? So, please don't ask about it.
How can I lend it without asking? To someone with such naive thinking.
I was getting more irritated with my husband for not giving a clear answer, no matter how much I asked. At that moment, my mother mentioned the word gambling. Eh? Gambling? Yes, gambling. What do you mean? He does seem to go to the slot machines often. Slot machines are nothing. He's into horse racing and casino too. Seems like he wins sometimes, but he's mostly blowing his paycheck on gambling every month. Is that so? Yeah. I've heard he's been playing cards recently.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Some friends invited me to play cards. They said it was fun, so I tried it. Then I won. So, we started betting on the games. I won at first, but as we kept playing, I started losing. And then, it turned into debt.
Cards for $10,000?
Yeah, that's right. I thought I could win it back. I was confident I'd win the next time, but somehow, I couldn't win anymore. Initially, I was only down about $2,000, but before I knew it, it ballooned to $10,000.
That's, basically, you're saying it's debt from playing around.
Yeah, that's it. Then, you should get a part-time job or something to pay it back. That's the thing, the people I owe are dangerous. They want their money now. I said I'd pay in installments, but they're like, do you think we can trust that? And if I don't pay up, they'll beat me up.
Why are you even involved with such people? If you lived a normal life, you wouldn't end up in situations like this?
Yeah. I know, but my friends, my buddies, they said it was fun. I didn't think they were those kinds of people, and then new people joined in. I was furious, not understanding what my husband was trying to say. It was foolish enough that he hadn't been saving, but on top of having a woman, he was also gambling on slot machines and now cards. In the end, he just wanted money to play around, talking about freedom this and that. Yet, as I was patiently listening to my husband, my mother interrupted him again. That's a lie. Eh? Sure, some of the money might be for gambling, but most of it's for a woman, right? What do you mean? He's renting an apartment for a woman to live in.
No way!
The rent for that apartment is $4,000.
$4,000?
Yes. He's paying $4,000 in rent, giving the woman $2,000 for living expenses, and trying to increase the rest through gambling. Why would you do such a thing? You've come to borrow money from me before, haven't you? I never imagined it was for a woman's apartment. Mom, you promised to keep that a secret, didn't you?
What? You borrowed from my mother too?
I was fooled by a convenient lie last time too. You said you wouldn't do it again, so I lent you the money. But there's no not again when it comes to renting, right? You broke your promise, so there's no need to keep your promise with Harry. What's going on? That was about 6 months ago. He said he had a debt he couldn't pay. But if he told Chris, she would worry. So he asked me to lend him the money, thinking it would be better if Chris didn't end up crying. At that time, it was only $4,000. Looking back, I guess that was for the woman's apartment rent. Why did you ask Mom for such a thing? Well, I thought Chris would nag if I asked her.
Of course I would.
But I thought Mom, getting her pension, might have some leeway.
Do you think you can live on a pension alone? The elderly are always saying on TV that they can't live on a pension alone.
I thought Mom would be okay. She shouldn't be okay. Mom, you shouldn't have lent it either. If I hadn't lent it, you would have been in trouble, right? That's why I lent it. After that, he came to borrow 2 or 3 more times, but I refused. So that's why you were happy when I said he had a mistress? Yes. With such a financially irresponsible man, it's better not to stay with him. Then I heard about the mistress. I thought if you knew he was cheating, you'd be willing to leave him. Plus, you could get alimony. It seemed like a good deal for Chris. I see.
It's better to leave such a man.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that time? 3 weeks ago, the day I went back to my parents' house. That's when I saw you in the car with a woman, kissing her.
What? No, I don't have anyone like that.
Really? Even though you're renting an apartment for her. Which face of yours is talking now? Well, I'm cheating, but I don't have a mistress. Oh, you rent an apartment for your fling? How generous of you. I took out my smartphone and showed him the kissing scene. Oh. That time. So that's why you didn't come back. That's the situation. This is just a bit of fun. You don't rent an apartment for fun. No, it's not like that. I don't know what my mother-in-law thinks, but I'm not renting any apartment. It's impressive how you insist you're not, even with all this evidence piling up. You could make a good con artist. My mother stood up and pulled a large envelope from the drawer. It had a detective agency's name on it. This envelope is filled with Harry's misdeeds, all documented with lots of photos. The items presented were an overwhelming number of photos serving as evidence of infidelity. So, you've been investigating? Yes, I have. Why would you do this? If there's a mistress, evidence is crucial, isn't it? You're still denying it, even when things are coming together like this. Plus, you lie so easily. For someone like that, showing evidence is the best approach. Evidence is important for breaking up, too. Even Chris. That's why I asked Mom for help. This is personal information. If this is personal information, then being a detective would be illegal. Creating a mistress and then talking nonsense, what are you thinking? Perhaps realizing there's no escape, Harry finally became defiant. Yes, I have a mistress. So what? I told you from the beginning, let's be free. Freedom means I can have a mistress, right? What are you talking about? That's not acceptable at all. Maybe it's a problem for you, but not for me. I love you too, so there's no issue, right?
There's a huge problem, though. Maybe it's a problem for you, but it's not for me. I'm just in a real bind because I can't pay the rent this time. That's all.
What's the big deal? If she leaves me.
What? That's not a problem at all. If she leaves, that's your issue, not mine. Why should I pay for your woman's expenses? I can't understand at all. Why would you say such awful things? Don't you feel sorry for me at all?
It's not about the woman.
But if she leaves, I'll be lonely. Well, too bad. We don't have that kind of money. If you really want to pay, figure it out yourself. But you have savings.
So what?
So, lend me some money.
You're working and spending your salary however you like, aren't you?
I'm not saving any of it. That's your fault. And I've spent my salary on women and gambling.
You seem pretty proud of that. But you know that's wrong, right?
I'm not wrong. It's money to enjoy life. Then enjoy it on your own. Figure it out yourself. That's the price of freedom.
Fine, if you really won't lend me the money, at least help me. How? You have insurance, right? Yes, I do. That insurance pays out for death and injury, doesn't it? Well, yes, it does. So, you just need to get into an accident. Then the insurance money will come through.
Are you kidding me? That's fraud.
It's only fraud if you think it's fraud. If it's an accident, it's no big deal. That's despicable. Just have a little accident.
Don't be ridiculous. Who would risk their own body for someone's affair partner? Just divorce him. It's terrifying to be with someone this stupid.
Yeah. I will. Here you go. Act fast. With that, my mother placed a divorce form on the table, seemingly prepared in advance. Why is this here? I wanted a divorce, so I prepared it in advance. Oh, I see.
Now, sign it.
As I took the pen from my mother, I signed the document. My husband, pressured by my mother, also took the pen. If I sign this, will you lend me the money? You're the one who's going to pay. Why should I? Because you owe me for the loan and the infidelity. You'll have to pay it all back. What, alimony? If that's the case, I won't get a divorce. If I don't divorce, I don't have to pay alimony, right?
If you refuse to divorce, I'll just hire a lawyer to get it done. Then, not only will you have to pay alimony to me, but we might also claim it from your mistress. And the alimony could be even higher. Right now, we're just asking for the usual amount, but with a lawyer involved, it'll be much more.
Ah, what have I done? Resigned, my husband signed the divorce papers. There, the divorce is final. Now, about the apartment, it's in your name, so you can either cancel it or continue living there with her. I can't afford the rent for 2 apartments. Well, this apartment is only $1,600, so you should be able to manage that. It's not my concern anymore. About the alimony, I'll be hiring a lawyer, so you'll discuss the rest with them. I didn't say you could bring in a lawyer. I've changed my mind. That happens, you know.
That's practically fraud.
I don't want to hear about fraud from someone who does it so casually. What? Mom will also be claiming the amount she lent you. Please make sure to pay it back. What am I going to do? A week later. I was relieved that everything would be settled by the lawyer, but then my ex-husband Harry showed up at my parents' house. I broke up with her. He looked disheveled and announced that as soon as he arrived. But her breaking up with him has nothing to do with me now. Well, that's irrelevant to me now. Whether you're with her or not, I have no lingering feelings. Don't say things like that. So, why are you coming to your ex-wife's family home? Because I need to borrow money. After we've divorced, why would you think I'd lend you any? I definitely won't lend you anything, and I don't want to. Even if arrows fell from the sky, I wouldn't lend you a dime. If you don't lend me money, I can't pay your alimony or repay the money I owe your mother.
You could just get a job or do something to pay it off.
Don't be so cold. I'm not being cold, I'm being realistic. I'll be in trouble without the money. You'll get your salary next month, right? You chose not to save and spent all your earnings, so why complain now? I didn't expect things to turn out this way. Well, that's unfortunate. But you brought this on yourself. It has nothing to do with me. I can't just accept that. Why not? It's none of my business, but I'll listen to your reason. My girlfriend's brother is a thug, and he's demanding compensation for some supposed harm I caused her. How much? $50,000. I don't have that kind of money. Why don't you just say you don't have it? He's not the kind of person who would accept that.
That's tough. But it's none of my business.
No, it is your business. I'm sure he'll come here too. It's in your best interest to lend me the money. They won't come here. It makes no sense for them to come to your ex-wife's place. Plus, my brother is a cop, and my sister is a lawyer. I have nothing to fear.
I'm scared.
That's your own doing.
Please, help me.
You lived as you wanted and spent freely.
This situation was inevitable. Handle it yourself.
But I can't even pay off my past debts. Please, help me. Desperate, Harry knelt and begged for help. But I, having no obligation to lend him anything, quietly closed the front door. Later, I sought legal action to claim alimony, but he declared bankruptcy, and I couldn't collect any compensation. Similarly, the money my mother lent never came back. Once he declared bankruptcy, there was nothing we could do but give up. However, the thug brother didn't want to let it go. She persistently convinced him to pressure Harry. Eventually, under constant harassment, he agreed to pay, but bankrupt Harry couldn't borrow from consumer finance companies or banks anymore. His own family, tired of his foolishness, refused to lend him any money. Out of fear of the thugs, Harry ended up borrowing from some dangerous places. Now, without the ability to repay, he faces terrifying debt collectors every payday. He apparently cancelled his apartment lease but now struggles to find a place to live, renting a stigmatized property cheaply and living with the sound of a woman sobbing at night. Lately, he's been blurting out nonsensical things at work and suddenly acting terrified. It might soon lead to his dismissal. What will happen to the borrowed money if he's fired is a concern, especially since the lenders are dangerous people. As for me, I've divorced Harry and am living peacefully. I'm working and don't struggle financially. Returning to my pre-marriage lifestyle has been fulfilling.